Fear stops us from achieving our true greatness. Are you a professional woman who is feeling stuck, unmotivated, or burned out? Are you worried about your wellness? Are you letting fear stop you from crushing your goals? If you answered yes to any or all of these, then this is the podcast for you. Dr. Charmaine Gregory, night shift emergency physician, burnout thriver, and wellness champion, along with everyday heroes just like you, will explore how to face fear in our lives and emerge victoriously.
Hello, Fearless Freedom family. Dr. G, we have a really cool episode today. You know, we always bring it. Today we have Alina Boyte, and Alina is going to tell you all about herself and what she is up to.
Hi, Charmaine. Thank you for having me here today. I am really excited to be here. So to give you a background of who I am and what I'm up to, I am originally from Malaysia, but I came over, I did my education, part of my education in the UK, and then I came over to the US to do a PhD in law, and I stayed on, and I am teaching law right now as a full-time law professor at Mississippi College, where my focus is on intellectual property, and I spend a lot of time thinking about creativity and innovation. And what I am about is, besides the reason why I'm here, is I have been really interested in how creativity can be used as a mechanism to address a lot of the difficulty or the challenges that we face in life. So I have been really interested in putting this message out and encouraging people to be more creative, in a sense to address their own challenges and coming to a place where they reach a more consistent place of fulfillment and well-being, and also from that place to use creativity to create change in the world, right? Connect with other people, address some of the global problems that we see today. And to me, that really comes from a person who is creative and who has the courage to pursue those creative inklings. And so that's where I'm coming from.
Wow, awesome. You know, my job on this show is always to dig deep and find the fears in what you're talking about or what you're saying.
Mm-hmm.
And just from your introduction, I am curious about some fears that you personally may have faced. Like, for example, leaving your home in Malaysia and then going to the UK. Was there any fear involved in that?
Yes, definitely. So when I left home for the UK, I was 20, and I was going there I had graduated from undergraduate school in Malaysia, and I was going there to do a master's. And when I had graduated at the top of my class, but I was also very young to be doing a master's at that age. And so I remember it was really hard leaving family and friends behind and going to a completely different country where the weather is completely different. And I remember how fearful I was. I remember going, I went to Cambridge, where it's a university town, but I remember staying in the college, and the college had put me up in this house that was like right in the middle of the city, where you had to feed the heater with money coins.
Oh, my goodness.
Yes. And I remember going there and not having those coins and being really cold, and going to Sainsbury's. It's kind of like maybe like a Kroger or like a Safeway, I think, in California.
Yeah, absolutely.
But everything there was cold, like cold sandwiches, cold salads, cold everything, right? And coming from Malaysia, which is a tropical country where we eat warm food most of the time, it was really hard. And it was scary because I was young, I didn't know anyone there. And adjusting to life was hard.
Wow, I can imagine. I mean, you're leaving everybody behind, your whole support system. You're coming to a
Yeah.
completely different country. You're living in a place where you have to put money in the heater. Oh my gosh. And
Yeah.
then you're going to the store and you're finding cold food. That's just incredible. And so how did you get through that
No,
situation?
I think I would do things a lot differently now, of course, right? But at that time, it was just really a matter of, I guess at that time, it was really a matter of surviving, and being and living the comfort of the home and the family, and being in a completely different country and having to survive. I think I was on survival mode for a couple of months before I actually settled in. It was we had to get a bicycle because the house that I was staying in was quite far from classes. We would shop for groceries with the bicycle, getting jackets because when I went there, it was the start of fall and it was cold. And in England is notoriously cold, notoriously known for being cold and wet.
Yes.
You know,
Bad
getting the
combination. Bad
yes,
combination.
yes, and right. It coming from a place that is known for having really good food. Like everyone who comes to Malaysia says, "I love the food."
Right.
It's hard to go to cold sandwiches and fish and chips.
Right. Right.
But yeah, so I think I was on survival mode for a couple of months, just figuring things out. But then I slowly made friends at the law faculty and at the college, and slowly things got better. And by the time I finished with the program in June the following year, I was a lot more settled. But you're right. It's the fear of being in a different country and trying to figure out how to survive.
Yes, no, it's huge. That is huge. Wow. I mean, I could identify with you in some ways. I mean, I when I came to the US, I was 10. And I had to make an adjustment, but it's
Yeah,
it's not the same adjustment like when you come as an adult or a near adult. Making a transition as a child is very different from making a transition as an adult because you have all these things that are hardwired as an adult that makes you less flexible, that makes you less adaptable, like to things like language and culture and just those things that as a child it is super easy for you to pick up. So you had that
yep,
added layer of not only a different climate for you and a different set of food and all those things. Are used to some rich spicy food in your country, and then you go to a place
yeah,
where you're getting cold sandwiches, and the temperature, you're not prepared for it. Like all these things are obstacles, but
yeah.
you faced your fear anyway. You went there, you got your education, and you thrived. So that is huge. And then on top of that, as if that wasn't enough of a conquer and a overcoming, you decided you want to go to a different country.
Yeah, and so the funny thing is, I I wasn't planning on coming to the U.S., but after graduating from Cambridge, I went back to Malaysia and I was working, and I had a mentor who encouraged me to apply for the Fulbright, and I
Oh,
did,
nice.
and I had no idea, and that's how I came to the U.S. And I had not expected to stay on, but kind of one thing led to another. I had good, really excellent advisors who encouraged me to pursue academia, which I did, and then I stayed on, and then I got tenure, and then I met someone, and then got married, and had a child. So this is life now. But talking about fear, and to really hone into to the topic at hand, is that regardless of how many times you've overcome a situation in life, there will always be fear when you do something new. It doesn't matter that you were in an English speaking country, or you grew up speaking English, went to an English speaking country, managed to survive and thrive in that country. Coming to the US was a whole new set of challenges. And of course that fear comes in again, and it's how I think the message really is, how do you overcome fear regardless of when and every time you face it, right? It's how would you overcome fear? And I think that a lot of people, when they are faced with fear, they immediately go into survival mode. Like right now, right? We are so afraid of what's happening with the pandemic, and a lot of people are in survival mode, right? We keep getting constant messages from the administration, right? Do not hoard up food or essential. Make it available for everyone. But I think when we are in fear mode, we immediately go into survival mode. And the question that I think is really interesting, at least for me, is how do you overcome that fear and not be in survival mode? Because I've been in survival mode a lot of times.
Absolutely. Yeah. With those, at least those two occurrences,
Mm-hmm. And now as well, and it's so easy to go into survival mode. I remember when there was news of all this happening. I went grocery shopping, and I spent a lot of money getting groceries because it's so scary. It's hard to come out of survival mode when you're fearful. So one of the things that I've been really thinking about, because of my focus in intellectual property, is, how do we move from this place of fear and ground ourselves in a place where we feel able to deal with, what's ahead of us, right? And there is a lot of solutions and ideas that are out there. Meditation is one. Going out in nature is one. Making sure that you're connected with the earth is one. Essential oils. There is a lot of ways in which we can come to a place of calm and somehow overcome. Move away from survival mode towards a more mindful way of living. But because I've spent so much time thinking about intellectual property and innovation and creativity, I'm really interested in that aspect of the mind to overcome fear. So, drawing itself calms the mind, right? It produces a lot of serotonin and dopamine to help us calm the mind down. Music can generate a lot of positive feelings, right? Dance, and even writing. And my thing, because of my background, is really how do we encourage people to be creative and then to share that creativity with the rest of the world. And that bridge, I think, is so important, because I really think that a lot of the change that we're going to see in the world is not going to come from large corporations and state governments, right, or national governments. And the reason is because there are a lot of silos and institutional frameworks that limit the way people can be really creative. So I really believe that the creative solutions that we see to a lot of the problems with ourselves and with the world, it really boils down to individual creativity.
Wow. That's awesome. I never thought about it like that. So thank you for that insightful addition, because, you're right. You really do feel a lot better when you are more creative and you've got those creative juices flowing.
Mm-hmm.
I know for me, for example, like I basically have shut down that side of my brain for many years. And then it was reawakened when there was a crisis with me and my career. And it has provided a nice balance in dealing with the stress. And, part of it is doing things like this, like creating something, getting with other people and creating something in a podcast form that we can share with
Exactly. I love this, right? Just the connection and the discussion and the dialogue create something completely different. And then when you put the podcast out to the world, people learn from that.
That's right.
And yes, I love it. Nowhere in any point in history where we have the tools and resources available to make that happen. as
That's so true.
individuals.
Yes, absolutely.
You know, it used to be that, right? It used to be that if to be a creative, you would have to have a patron, right? Or someone,
Yes.
but you know, that has changed so much. And yeah, it's the the creative and innovative individuals who has the right tools to come to a more consistent place of well-being, and who is empowered to then share that creativity with the rest of the world, who will make the change.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. And then, of course, you talk about dance, you talk about music. I'm
Mhm.
like, oh, yes, absolutely. This is great.
Yes,
Like, it's such a positive vibe.
yes, exactly, right. And it's not just a traditional creativity as we understand creativity to be, right? Even home decoration, right? Creating a nice space in your home, that's creativity, right? But that generates a lot of positive feeling and a lot of a more consistent and persistent state of well-being, right? And when you're in that space, that's when the creative juices flow, and that's when the impact that you're going to make on the world is going to be, it's going to far surpass what you could do without being in that creative zone.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah, no. So in a way, we should all really be focusing our time and energy during this particular situation to not be consumed by all the negativity that is surrounding it, but instead think of ways in which we can become creative and we can stimulate that creative side of us.
Yes, exactly. And when we do that, then we shift from survival mode to a mode to a state of well-being.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And so, this is this, are you presenting this work or these ideas in a particular format so the rest of the world can enjoy it?
Yeah, so I am actually working on so I do have a podcast. And a lot of what I'm saying was in earlier episodes, and my more recent podcasts have been actually interviewing people who are doing things like that as well. But I am actually working on putting these ideas out more consistently. I've been actually quite tied up with what's happening at school, because we've suddenly moved everything to online instruction, and we try to figure that out. But part of it, part of being home more, is I'm trying to think of ways to somehow document all of this and put it out on a more consistent basis. So I'm thinking we're actually doing things like lives where I can have slides and share those slides. Being a teacher, we we like slides and information on slides. Yeah, so that's what I'm trying to do.
Okay. Yeah, no, that'd be great. And then the bonus of doing a live broadcast, if you're doing it on Facebook or whichever platform you're trying to use, is that you can recycle that same content and make it evergreen and searchable by using YouTube. So there's
Yes,
an option for you.
yes, exactly. Yeah, and there are actually platforms or apps like I think it's Searchy, that allows you to categorize your work, and then it allows people to search for particular topics as well.
Perfect. Perfect. Yeah, because what you don't want is you don't want to do an amazing piece of content and then you share it on Facebook. And then what happens is, it gets buried in the feed, over time.
Yeah,
So you
yeah,
definitely want it to be a place where people can actually go there and get the value no matter when they look at it, whether they look at it next year or 2 years from now.
yeah.
They put in a keyword that you're highlighting, then they can find it. So no, that's awesome. Yeah, that'd be great. And then so do you have a way so say for example the audience would like to learn more about you, would like to talk to you further, is there any way that they can contact you? Like, what is your
Yes.
contact?
So I would encourage everyone who wants to reach out to get on our website, and it's www.alinaboyte, ALINABOYTE.com. And that's the easiest way to get in touch with me. But I'm also on Facebook, if that's something that people find more comfortable as a platform for connection. And I think if you search Alina Boyte, and that's ALINA, and then is my maiden name, which is NG, and then Boyte, BOYTE, my married name, my profile would come up. And I'm on LinkedIn as well.
Awesome. Awesome. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
important for people to be able to reach you. Because if they're liking the conversation, they want to learn more about you, they got to know where to find you. So that's great. And I know this is going to be in the show notes, but it's always good to say it on the show, because
Yeah.
when you're listening to a show, you may not necessarily be anywhere near you where you can write it down or you can access the show notes. So that's great. Thank you for doing that. All right. This has been such a great conversation.
I enjoyed it.
Oh, good. So did I. So did I. So, we're at that point in the show where we do the fill in the blanks. Do you feel like you're ready?
I think so.
Okay, awesome. Great, great, great. All right. So the first one is, if I am fearless, I will
Pursue what I am truly passionate about.
love it. Love it. And then the next one is, to me, fearless freedom means
The courage to listen to your heart and to follow the path that leads you to more connection.
awesome. 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 And then last but not least, my battle cry is
To have the courage to go ahead, be creative, and create the change that you want to see in the world.
love that. Oh my
Me
goodness.
too.
That's awesome. Oh my goodness. It's been such a great conversation. Thank you for joining in and sharing with the audience. And we'll definitely make sure that all the information that you stated as far as your contact is also in the show notes for listeners to be able to access. So thanks again for taking your time to be on the show. We really appreciate it.
Thank you, Charmaine.
Have a great one.